Hey, how's it going? Thanks for tuning in to your boy Be Humble. Coming back with another episode. This will be episode 4 in regards to some of the documents that my old man left me before he passed. So, like I always do, we're going to start off with story here. But today's story and what we're going to talk about more so is like military documents and military stuff. Since, I did 20 years and retired from the Navy. So with that being said, we're going to jump into this quick story. So my old man, when he had a stroke. So when he had this stroke, left him incapacitated. He was brain dead. So while he was, you know, basically on life support, I remember we were at the VA hospital in Pittsburgh. My brother coming up to me saying that it looks like he lied about his military service. And at the time, I'm just like, huh? He was like, he lied about his age to get into the military at that time. So I was a little confused. So when I go through these documents, someone who's been in the military and someone who, dealt a lot in admin, I can tell what, some of these documents mean. So with that being said, let's go ahead. This first document, when my old man, he enlisted into, looks like the ARG, the Army Reserve. So he enlisted in March 1947. And so it looks like he got out in September of 1948. So the reason they put on here is expiration of service, but he got a general discharge. A general discharge is only when you get in trouble, but it's not like exceeded amount of trouble like a DUI or like you pop positive for smoking weed or smoking, doing cocaine or something like that. So it's not as egregious as the offense he had to have at that point. So that's the only reason why you would get a general discharge. So with that being said, remember I told you guys he was born in 1930, but his birth date on this document is December 1928. So that would have made him 2 years older. So that means at the time when he joined, he was actually only 17 when he joined the Army. But for some reason, he wanted to be older, to get in. Instead of just doing 1 year, he went a whole 2 years. So that made him 19 at the time when he joined the military. So when my brother said that, that's where that came from, where eventually where I understood what he was talking about. So also some of the stuff on here, it's no different than what some of the documents we have now. This is not a 214. When I retired, I got a DD2 214. That's the main document you get now. So I guess maybe when you're either reserve or separated during this time, you did not. Because the next document I'm about to go over is when he went into the Air Force and he did get a 214. So here's like some of the stuff they put on here, like his blood type, a cured leave, which was 33 days. They paid it out to him in cash. Retained in service with own consent to undergo medical treatment. So another thing my brother just told me, he was giving him hell, I guess, when he was down there. He was acting up. So what I think would have happened, like there was an article that he was in later in his life where he became alcoholic for a time, and I guess the military kind of helped him get on that route to becoming an alcoholic. So like I told you guys, he fixed my car. Like one of the first times I got a chance to talk with him. So here it shows like he dealt with light trucks when he was with the Army Reserve, and it looks like he was out of the Carlisle Barracks in Pennsylvania, sort of like the middle of the state. All right, so we're gonna move on over to this next document. This next document is from 1952. A lot of these documents are like not the best shape. I don't know if you can see this. They're pretty old, yellow because they're old. But he left everything in document protectors. So before we get into this, this is a 214 that I'm holding. So like I said, things were a lot different. We all know where this country has been and where we're at now. So back then, it looks like anybody of color, um, they labeled you a certain, they gave you a certain term. So they didn't use African American back then. They didn't use black. They didn't use brown, like describe you for your race. So some people may be offended by what I'm about to say. So on this 214, how they labeled his race, it says Negroid. So that was one of the phrases that stood out to me. For those who know me, they know why. So that stood out to me the most. That they labeled him as Negroid. I didn't know how they labeled things back then. So it looks like he did 3 years in the Air Force. He got his honorable discharge this time, which was a good thing because that's how we were able to bury him when he passed at the Veterans Cemetery up in Pittsburgh, which is in Washington, PA. So yeah, so he did a little over 3 years in the Air Force. It looks like he was airman third class when he got out. So that was his time in the military. Yeah, like I told you guys earlier, I did 20 years um, in the Navy. My nephew, Willie Humbles, he did some time in the Navy. His father retired from the Army. My oldest son from my first marriage, I believe he's still in the Navy right now. So I guess I said there's a lot of people in my family that have been in the military. I also had an uncle who passed a few years ago. He was in the Air Force as well, my Uncle Jimmy. I had a chance, to foster a relationship when I got my first duty station, and he was living in San Bernardino. I'm in Point Magoo. I would say that was maybe about a 3-hour drive. But one thing I could tell you is the Inland Empire compared to like Ventura County where we were at. I would say I think it was maybe about 2 hours. The weather. So where I was stationed at, we were right on the Pacific Ocean. So when I would go visit my uncle, it would be like a 30-degree temperature change. So if it was 70 degrees where I was at, it was 100 degrees where they were at. So we were like 75, 80. You can add 30 to that. So that's the fourth episode from the Be Humble podcast, and I'm out.